Hi everyone, it's my birthday. Pretty epic. So for my birthday, I wanted to celebrate myself and look over the most iconic scenes from every franchise I like. The problem is that, so that's a lot, so I decided to narrow it down. I'm going to be only looking at the franchises represented on my favorite character tier list, so nice and easy. Until you realize there's 225 characters on that. Okay, so brief explanation of the rules. I'm picking what I believe to be the most well-known scene of the entire franchise. I did this before with strictly cartoons, but now, literally everything from these series are on the table. They can be iconic because they shook up the series, became a meme, a million reasons. The important thing is that they're iconic. We're using the rules from the old video. No repeated scenes like running gags or catchphrases, reused footage, or intros. Since I'm adding a lot more media onto this list, I also say no trailers or commercials. For the order, we're working off the order the tier list is in, which is the characters in alphabetical order. You got a lot to go through. Happy birthday to me. For my birthday, I'm torturing myself. These are the most iconic scenes from every series that I like. I still see the scene of Troy walking into the game trying to put out the fire basically daily. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand why it's so used. Every conversation on the internet will inevitably become a dumpster fire. The Matrix is super iconic for its slow-mo. Nothing started off better than the bullet dodge. It was mandatory to parody this in every piece of media for a full decade. Aku's extra thick ramp became the go-to big meme of the series. Arguably getting more attention than the 5th season, despite getting big around the same time. Even with how not good Hasbro's writing is, the song is pretty decent. And nowhere as well discussed to Lose Your Baby. Maybe not entirely for the best reasons, but it's also a super catchy song that also has Keith David. Singing the radio dust ship is also very well appreciated. The scene of Mr. Boss about to kill the Fawning friends, where the friends start crying despite being all about nihilism, more or less killed nihilism on the internet. Radical. As overused as the scene has gotten online, the reveal of Nina being fused with her dog is big for a reason. It was the first major gut punch of the show, really putting Ed and Al into the path of improvement. There's a few good picks for Evangelion, but everyone can recognize the, end of Evangelion. With Asuka and Shinji in front of the crucified things in a red void. This has been redrawn to death. I wonder how many redraws know that Asuka is being choked though. Either audience choose someone to take this place. For me, Read Mother shows Tui at their most hammy and evil. Plus it's super catchy. Some of the best puppet effects ever, and leads to the ending, of which there's two. I hate that I'm saying this, but for my favorite franchises of all time, I genuinely think the scene I see from Kirby discussed the most is the cake steal from Street Squad. To most people, this is the plot of every Kirby game, and I hate it here. So, the Barbie here is specifically the movie version. Do I include the other versions? Well, I think the movie says it was an iconic scene. The I'm Just Ken song was everywhere after the film. Even done with the Oscars. Basically, there's a song I expect to be the pick. First of a lot of really hard picks. DC had nearly a century's worth of media from literally everything, and there's a lot of arguments for all. I feel like with Dark Knight still being such a revolutionary and influential film, what's your first take on Joker? His first scene, describing his scars, being the most pointed to scene. To 100% debate this, there's so many options here, but I'm going with this. Straight for this, I love you, but I'll never forgive you for making it impossible to discuss this film without hearing the exact same joke. There's a few options here, but the big snake scene is very frequently pointed out as the peak of this film's creativity, horror, and effects. So yeah, big snake creature. Beetlejuice loves those. I've only played 3 Houses of Fire Emblem. I see people talk about Lucina unmasking herself a lot, and she's one of the most iconic characters in the games. And Awakening is probably like the most popular game overall, so sure, I'm too busy doing your mom to care. In the cartoon scenes video, I picked Mabel trusting Stan at the portal as the most iconic scene. And I asked everyone to argue with me. No one did. I'm God. Biased maybe, but Big Mong's death? Pretty sad. Made me cry. Pixar's known to do that. Yep, that's my pick. What are you gonna do? Disagree with me on my birthday? You monster. Well, Death Battle has evolved a lot in their 14 years. To most people, they only know them for Goku freaking dying to Superman the first time. Not the flashiest death they've done, but one that ended the biggest rivalry in Versus. Well, ended as in massive quotations. Well, I could talk about my pick for Encanto, but I'm not supposed to. Mighty Eagle pissing in the lake is one of the rare movie scenes that also made into games. Also, it's hard to forget that good old Mighty Eagle piss. Every scene in this film has gotten shared around every Christmas. I feel like Buddy screaming that he knows Santa before then meeting the Santa imposter definitely seems to be the one I see on most merch. A device to Pikmin 2 is, everyone will admit the best part of it is the submerged castle. When the water wraith drops in, that's when fans go from a relaxing time to absolute horror. Not only is Cartman feeding Scott Hammond his parents the universally seen as one of the most evil moments in animation history, but it's worth noting that prior to this episode, Cartman was just kind of a brat. This was the moment to fully introduce the psychopathic monster who will do anything to entertain himself, that we still all know today. But before the new trilogy, Like, come on, I couldn't possibly look past the ending of the original movie. The reveal of the world being Earth with a destroyed Statue of Liberty is one of the most iconic scenes in film history. Spoiler is directly spoiled in most DVD covers. You Can Fly is basically one of Disney's go-to theme song at this point. That's why it's my pick. Oh my god, this video is gonna be so repetitive. I still have like 200 to go. Oh my god. Lelouch's death was extremely shocking, and surprisingly lived in the minds of all who watched it. He deserved it. The final splatfest of Callie vs. Marie was what the whole game was building up to. It was a very brutal battle between the fans of both, and the aftermath of it being 100% rigged to have inferior Switch sister win was certainly a major point in Squid history, which majorly affected every game following. I feel like you could argue any part of this movie qualifies. The Tea Party scene? Sure, yeah. Well, the show is mostly about the dynamic between Kaguya and Shirogane. Most people were introduced to it via the silly little end credits scene where Chica dances, a song remixed to death, and a scene redone to death. The big Duckman rant about comedy and offensiveness has been pointed to by many people as an extremely poignant scene serving us to today, being arguably the only scene most people know from the show. It's Return the Slab. I've thought about this scene like 50 times. I never want to see King Ravi's stupid face again. Okay, so the previous video had me distrusting Mpreg, but since then, New Wish came out, and that exploded in popularity thanks to Poof's new design, showing the creators really did value the past of the show while wanting to improve it. Also, people thought he was hot. The fight in the first episode with Blair was a great introduction to the fights in the series, and really pointed at to show its animation off. It also introduces Blair, a fan favorite who I low-key kind of hate, not gonna lie, but that's not what this video is for. Oh god, this was hard. The intro or the final boss fight with Blue in Gen 1 would be my pick if I was only looking at games. Since I'm covering the whole franchise, it's gotta be from anime. But what from it? Ash's death from the first movie is definitely up there, but honestly, Ash winning the Lola Cup was on the news, dog. It's this. Ultimate Enemy is still looked at the absolute peak of the franchise, mostly with how dark it is. And the darkest scene is the birth of Dark Danny, which has Danny get separated from his evil self, who then immediately kills him. Blythe roaring when he gets reawakened really sets up the dark gothic atmosphere perfectly. So much so that the intro reuses it, an iconic character needs an iconic setup, and Jack Sparrow's setup perfectly establishes him as a character. It's really sad that OKK is only known for his crossovers. Dicker, the big punch Ben gives, where he turns into a bunch of other scene characters, gets thrown around a lot. Most don't even know it's from a show, instead of a commercial or something. It's kind of sad. King Dicey's boss fight was immediately pointed at to as the peak of this game's fights, full of wacky animation, a swinging song, and intense difficulty that was still fair. Unless you fight that stupid monkey. Pinkie Pie's Crazy Breakdown Season 1 was the first sign this show can go a bit darker than your standard kids fare. It started a certain dark piece of MLP fan work where Pinkie goes insane and kills everyone. Yes, Amber doesn't narrow it down at all. There's something so magical about the first time travel scene in this. The car coming directly at Doc and Marty, just being right before it hits them, with the license plate spinning, being the icing on the cake. Phineas and Ferb is well known for its music, and I genuinely believe the popularity of Squirrels in My Pants, thanks to the Synth meme, almost directly caused the revival of interest in the show. Friends on the Other Side is absolute jam, with the most standout visuals and Keith David, the first 10 minutes. I don't gotta explain this. Hades is a very difficult game. The game has a simple goal: meet up with your mom. Finally meeting her after you kill your dad is a very satisfying moment. Say the word bang to a Cowboy Bebop fan, and they'll break down in tears. The show ends very ambiguously, and either way, it's so sad. Green Hill is the location of Sonic. Every game, movie, show, whatever, it's gonna start there. Specifically thanks to the loop. Sand Hill. The real Stay Puft is still super funny. Has some pretty good effects for its time. Plus like 5 quotable lines are in this scene alone, it's great. For Slapjack, it's this. Yeah. If there's a scene in space in media, they're gonna have a scene where something bursts out of someone's chest. Thank you, really phallic creature. Just let it go. People just couldn't let it get away from them and give it up. Every scene from the original series and the original She-Ra breaks her rules. It's an epic lesbian makeout session is. A lot of people forget that K&D was one of the first story-based shows and cartoons, but the show has a very strong continuity. The most notable example of this was the movie, dropping the utter bombshell that the main villain father was the uncle of the main character, alongside the reveal of father's true form. Freerun for most of the show was a bit of a silly pushover, despite being a well-known adventurer. It came as a big shock when Aura compares her powers to Freerun's, knowing that Freerun is so powerful and has been restricting herself, that it literally kills Aura. The most iconic Aqua Teen scene is the Bible. Don't most people know it as the Bible? You question the words of the mighty strike! There's no real wrong answers here. I'm going with You Shall Not Pass. Feel free to debate me in the comments. But I shall not care! Thanks for getting thrown out of a window. That's funny. Every song can qualify for this slot. But like, Be our guest, dog. That's a big showstopper. That was on that one Disney ride. That's awesome and cool. The intro to the first Scream really could just be its own short film. Perfect sets up Ghostface. Having several twists in the short time it runs, there's a brutal kill and shows love to the horror genre, while also showing loving satire to it and its fans. The ending of the second game has hit after hit. A great fight against Wheatley, the extreme evolution of absurdity, shooting a portal to the moon, Gladys seemingly betraying you, only to finally let you go. It's a phenomenal ending. The original show is only known for its intro. The remake makes a huge step forward by immediately setting up the stakes. The twins have a mom. She's out there somewhere. Godzilla's original Rampage to Tokyo, unsurprisingly, the kaiju scene. Yeah, I'm so tired. My wife left me and I took the kids. Then getting the watch sets up the show greatly, having some of the most standard animation and music in the whole franchise. There's not a universe where I gave this to You Treat a Car Like You Treat a Woman. I'm so glad it's not this universe. Billy has only one scene where he screams, "Destroy us all!" but made such an impact that it's commonly cited as a catchphrase. As iconic as The Grinch's Redemption is, it ain't a banger tune. And with this being the most major addition the original short added that has kept every adaptation, it's here to stay. Really hard to nail this one down. The intro song is one of the catchiest in the film, as well as being a meme. So sure. Tell you what, that boy Bobby ain't right when he goes kicking them boys and dingling and taking back his purse. Finding Nemo had a lot of good scenes. But like, the scene with them riding the EAC was everywhere in promotional material. Even to this day. The trailers are some of the most iconic characters in the film. So yeah, that one. For an overall super lighthearted game, things immediately take a sudden turn when you get to Queen Vanessa's mansion. A dark, chilling, and genuinely scary level that sticks in the mind of all who get to it. Like Gravity Falls, that's to argue with me on if Pigeon Man leaving was the most iconic scene. No one did, so no one's smart but me! It's still really weird to say that a year later, but yeah. Mordecai breaking up with Margaret at Muscleman's wedding is still definitely the most iconic scene. People still point to it as ruining Mordecai's character and being hard to watch, which is weird when the rest of the show is so well loved. As majestic as the original reveal of the dinosaurs was, and as big as a meme of Chris Pratt training raptors is, nothing will ever top the T-Rex appearing out of nowhere at the end, taking out the raptors and roaring as the banner falls in front of it. It's the dinosaur scene. You will believe an episode about a disgusting burrito will make you cry. I like that boulder. That's a nice boulder. Pretty much everyone knows the giant dies at this point, but that doesn't make the emotional punch of it or it muttering Superman hit any less. Brothers in Dungeon is one of the best picks for story anime out there. It's a very fun, straightforward fantasy adventure without the weirdness of other animes. The only fanservice moment in the whole show is when Monster Phelan rips off her shirt to reveal her chest. You'll never guess what scene I'm picking. Okay, there's a three-way tie for Aladdin. Magic Carpet Ride and Prince Ali have their arguments. Kind of like me's animation, bombastic music, and the best off of Genie's personality and performance has to be the pick. I'm just gonna move past this one. The first movie made a huge splash being so unique and visceral. Nothing better showed off how much professional killing machine Rick was by him killing someone with a pencil. Donnie's noting of him being second yet curious has been adopted as some people as motto of the internet. Yeah, it fits. Every scene in JoJo's gets thrown around a line. For a long time, people only know the series for the fight with Dio, the most iconic time stop in fiction, and Dio dropping a steamroller on Jotaro. Bare Necessities isn't as big as some other Disney songs, but I still see it used in Disney parks and ads, so yeah. Despite the show's name, Mai only dressed as a bunny girl once. Unsurprisingly, this is what she and the show is best known for. I am just being cynical here, I know, but as much as I want to give it to Rainbow Connection, I'm sorry, I feel like Muppets only seen as a punchline right now. A big meme, and I still see the scene of Kermit and Constantine used constantly. It's my regretful pick. I don't think most people even know this is not actually Kermit. Kiki flying in her broom is the most magical and epic and good scene. I am running out of words. Yeah, this gets redrawn a lot. You ever think about how Madagascar just casually changed the view of a song forever? Like if you're born between 1997 and 2010, you really cannot hear I Like the Movie without thinking of King Julian. I am on Donkey Kong separate. Smash does So I Love Cheating, but like, the DK rap? Yeah, as Miley Cyrus once said, it's the climb. Really, it's a lot of things. The initial climb, Kong getting gunned down, falling off the building, and then the Beauty killed the Beast line. But anyways, it's an extremely iconic scene. For the dramatic reprise of the theme, the slow zoom Tommy's mildly beautiful face, the ending of the first episode resets up the series well, and certainly made it clear this was going to be one of the biggest things on the internet. Frick man, every scene in this film is a meme. By all accounts, I could pick any scene. Hey, that's reference, let's go with that. Madoka Magica starts an instant and cute girl show. When Mommy dies in episode 3 though, that's when everyone realizes there's a lot more to it. Okay, reusing scripts time. Infinity Train is fantastic, and only 3 people have seen it, so go watch Infinity Train. Like skip like 10 seconds right now. Okay, you skipped. You missed a spoiler. Okay, good. Gohan is a pretty nice kid throughout the whole show. So him suddenly and finally breaking and lasting out of P2, with him gaining his most powerful form, Marge Simpson, certainly left an impression on people. There's a lot of scenes people love from Owl House. Unsurprisingly, the most popular ones are gay. The ground dance in one of the first scenes of this show is, in fact, very gay, with notable jump in animation quality. Very dynamic shots, and again, gay. Talon's fight with the Five on the bridge is a breathtaking fight, showing off each fighter's strength perfectly, always ramping up in intensity. Also the funny Thailand quote. The ending of the epilogue is not only a cute scene showing Madeline finally happy with herself and still in contact with Theo, but also serves as on-screen confirmation of Madeline being trans. I'm a little shocked how many go-to theme songs Disney has. But yeah, Once Upon a Dream is another. I also hate that Omelette Fruit du Fromage is one of the most well-known parts of Dexter. The Frets do not deserve attention. Dude, I love gay people. Margie Wu is my favorite character in this series. Anyways. The ending of Duck Amuck is one of those things that gets parodied all the time, but you might not even notice. Still, it's one of the first notable fourth wall breaks. It's pretty significant. If there's a sprite animation on the early internet era, they just had to reference the intro of Mega Man 2 with Mega Man standing on the big building. There is no Easter Bunny, there is no Tooth Fairy, but there's the most iconic Mega Man scene, it's this. Even though it's kind of spoils the whole show, it's a little hard to discuss the good place without mentioning the big reveal that the show takes place in the bad place, and the scene revealing it. Team T was really hard to pick for this. The 80s series is the most iconic, not for any specific moment. I'm going with Shredder's death in the 2012 show. Feel free to argue with this one. Ocarina of Time is still seen as the big game of everything, really. Of all scenes in the game, the scene most emblematic of it is Link pulling the sword out and aging up. It's like the thing I see in every discussion of it. For the final time, I singled out Steamed Ham's most iconic scene, since it was ready to meme that just won't die, as people argue with me for it, and no one did. I am an all-seeing god. You're gonna hate me, but I'm not going with a scene from the original Powerpuff Girls. If you discuss Powerpuff Girls, no matter what, someone's gonna bring up how bad the reboot is, and point to the twerking scene. At this point, this image is burned into the eyes of most of the internet. Again, I don't want to explain this one. Be a man! We must be swift as the coursing river. Be a man! With all the force of a great typhoon! The reveal that Tessa was actually the main villain, Sin, was one of the biggest twists in the show, and giving birth to arguably the show's most popular character. The intro, I guess? I don't know, not every scene was gonna be bigger. Simone's speech in episode 27 really shows his development and shows how great he is as a new leader. Also, Simone, dude's rad. The scene of Nemona getting accepted by Ballister is just really sweet, and really shined brightly as this came out during Pride Month. There's a few good picks. The scene of Chihiro riding on Haru is one of the best scenes in terms of the majestic feel of Ghibli's work. So yeah, that. The show made a major splash for wacky comedy, and the one scene that sold it is Nokotan walking through the door and shattering it with her antlers as her theme plays. The fight between Rock Lee and Gaara is pointed out as one of the best scenes in the whole show, and a major reason why both these characters should have done more. I don't need to think about what scene made its biggest spark in Invincible. I Beat My Wife. This is Halloween literally fuels Hot Topic. I feel like if this song disappeared, the store would too. Does the first screen of the arcade game count? I mean, I'm counting it, and you can't argue against me because it's my birthday. Frick you. I mean, yeah. Two teams coming together to fight each other in episode 8. To fight the two big monsters was the scene of Ruby's early era to show people the scale of the internet series. That's radical. For my birthday, I hope we get to Thesaurus. I feel like I talk about Stronger Than You a lot, but between some of the best music in the show and the gay, it deserves it. I mean, Mickey Westling at the start of Team of Willie is kind of like the most iconic scene in animation. That counts for something. So, like, it's a disastrous ending, right? Like, the thing people still talk about is the awful ending, right? Like that's the pick, right? Uprising starts simple. Fun, but simple. When Hades claws through the credits to show you that they're not even halfway done with the game yet, that's when the game really gets nutty. The opening level is like the only thing referencing crossovers and is the primary showcase of most demos and trailers, so sure. If a couple isn't really drawn to the scene of Ponyo and Sasuke, are they even a couple? My friend really wanted me to include this scene where Popeye punches Bluto so hard he gets turned into a sausage, so frick you, I'm just going with that. I'm merciful God. Predator removing his mask, giving us the most iconic line in the franchise. The two going hand to hand is so unbelievably raw. It couldn't be anything but this. But really didn't contribute that much to the film, but the reason he's the thing most people discuss in this movie, since it's extremely well animated, especially for a film in the 70s. The fight with Sans, threatening the game's biggest spoiler, was what got a lot of people to even know of the game, with several of the most iconic lines in the game, and was a iconic song, and all around everyone's favorite, or maybe least favorite, character, Sans. Scott telling Ramona about Pac-Man, support Sonic in the anime, I guess. I don't know, someone kind of stumped me. A good few candidates, but Sully's saying goodbye to Boo was pointed out as one of the first really sad Pixar scenes. Rattlesnake Jake's introduction is ridiculously chilling, setting up Jake's malice with zero comedy. Really setting up how freaking cool he is. Ratigan really seems to be the only part of the film people ever gets discussed, with the villain song being the height of his character, from showing off his evilness, how big of a show-off he is, and the length will go to his plot. Yep, still King K. Rool. Sad the show is only known for this and being cancelled. Rebecca is my favorite character in Cyberpunk. She's best known for freaking dying. When the titular Adventure Bros die in the first season, that signifies a lot. That continuity does matter, that the show does not pull its punches, and several layers of parody. Really being the first true sign that this is something absolutely, truly special. Okay, I have read NES Godzilla on my list. How do I count this? Like, is this like a Godzilla thing? Is this like a creepypasta thing? Do I only use the story? Why is he on this list at all? Why did I put him on here? If we're only looking at the NES Godzilla creepypasta, then the best scene to pick is Red's initial appearance. Best setting up the horror of the story, while being the first major deviation from the original game. Really, the two picks for this film involve Anton Ego. But yeah, the seed of Ego eating the Ratatouille is a really sweet way to redeem the character, and became a meme. He'll point to the parents of Rugrats being really relatable, but whenever they do, it's only about the scene where Stu makes pudding. Kind of sad that the only real pick for this show is the Ben 10 crossover, but also, god, upgraded improving Rex's tech, such a cool way to have the two interact. Really the most iconic speedrunning and completion bonus in gaming. Being the first Metroid game in the very short amount of time, it's a shocking reveal that the main character is a woman. Instantly shooting Samus up to being one of the most iconic female characters in gaming. Yep, it's still SCW scene. And it's still because people don't realize anti-SJWs were being dissed here. A lot of people tend to discuss Robocop shooting a guy in the dick, and like, would we really want any other scene to get the nod here? There's a lot of scenes from shows that became memes. How many of them extended a man's life? Only one did, and that scene is number one. Sadly, yeah, nothing's changed. We'll only still hype out Rocco as the show with adult humor, when it really isn't as frequent as people make it out to be. And the highlight of it is still the sex hotline. With the movie being added on now, I think the ending revealing that Eddie's brother is an evil, abusive jerk, leading to all kids to stick up for the Eds and befriend them, really hits hard, even over a decade later. This still serves such a great ending that they should never reboot this series. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that! Sucks to say, but World 1-1, James so retro to pick it, but like, name more iconic gaming level. You can't. It even has Lonely Goomba. Life's descent from a prodigy student to a psychopathic serial killer with a god complex happens slowly, but when he finally hits the end of his arc, as he's laughing uncontrollably after being exposed as Kira. It's a massive moment and also epic and cool, and the ravenous hyena behind you. Saitama explaining his training regimen is set up as this major payoff, when in reality, it's underwhelming to both the audience and the in-universe characters, working both greatly as a joke, but also a major moment for Saitama's character. Colossus Titan peeking over the wall was used everywhere during the show's premiere. It already became a symbol for anime as a whole for the early 2010s. All I've seen is ridiculous spot. I think the sheer reach the Gojo Sukuna fight has, without being animated as of now, plus of course the controversial death of Gojo, makes me lean towards it. Favorite character list is so great. I love that I can go from like 5 anime characters to so freaking good, man. Goz's death is great on so many levels. It's sudden, but also very clearly telegraphed. We only realize it's being hinted at right before it happens. It then looks like Gus survives, as he always manages to weasel out of the worst situations, but nope. He is really gone this time. Every song in this film could possibly make a top 50 most iconic Disney songs list, but how could I not go with Circle of Life? Quite possibly the most iconic opening to an animated film. From the opening shot to the chanting, first time Rafiki holds up Simba, the big fuzz this title is shown, it's fantastic. Chowder is the fourth wall breaking show. Nothing shows it off better than the show running out of animation, forcing the actors to work at a car wash. Why they insinuate that Tara Strong was going to be a hooker to get animation back? I thought long and hard about this, and with running gags removed, honestly, Scrappy being revealed as a villain in the live actions film. Most of my generation's introduction to Scrappy. Scrappy was the first time a company really listened to criticism and took it to the extreme. The start of first movie with Scrat really set up the vibe well. Scrat was going to dial in there. It became so popular, given more scenes. And he became Blue Sky's mascot. After 3 seasons of Will They Won't They, Kim and Ron finally get together. Kissing in the movie was momentous. So much so that when the show got a 4th season, it was included in the intro. Optimus's death in the movie is a moment that haunts an entire generation of kids. But you don't just kill your character in the middle of a kid's film. And you don't just forget that happens when you see it. It's hard to forget a character committing suicide, especially as one at instantly lovable as Shokya. Thankfully it's prevented, but just as the film is getting more happy, this came in. The Christmas special has a lot of scenes that are required to be referenced in every Christmas special, but the dance in particular really stands out. Do any individual dance here, and someone's bound to recognize it. Okay, getting controversial. There's a few scenes people talk about for Avatar, but it's spread out. There's not one definitive scene. But then you factor in Korra, which is the same series, and like, people at this point talk about nothing but Korra and Asami becoming a couple now. Every discussion of Korra and being real in Avatar 2 will never bring up this scene and its significance to queer representation. Korra is basically the only thing Korra is remembered for. The scene with the zombie Argentinosaurus is commonly pointed out how visual and scary the show can get. The scene of it jumping over the volcano in particular is always used in trailers. Okay, picking one from Marvel is nearly impossible. I ended on Tony Stark's death from Endgame, seeing as how is the payoff to over decades worth of build-up in the second highest grossing film ever made. Feel free to disagree with me here. Sweet victory remains supreme. No explanation needed. I started the last video with it for a reason. Okay, so the original Teen Titans has a few good picks, but this video isn't looking at the original. It's the whole series. So Go is now on the table. So just picture my booty up in 3D. Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride is the only original song in the film, but it keeps up the trend of songs being picked for Disney. There's a reason most posters have gang surfing. The Gremlin in the Microwave is one of the scariest moments in an otherwise pretty tame horror movie. Nearly being one of the big pushes to us getting a PG-13 rating. Cinder's line of "if everyone's super, no one is" was super chilling, first encapsulation of his character, and it all turned to a meme. Really had trouble with this one. None of the songs immediately jumped up into my mind. I guess I'll go with How Far I'll Go? Sure, yeah. You really cannot say "I'll be back" without people thinking of Terminator. Such a common phrase is now owned by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a bike slide. Some of the things you might have seen in unrelated things, never thought anything of it. But once you finally see Akira, it's really just a scene of Humpty Dumpty. The base reveal is easily the scariest scene in the show. And this thing makes the horror of him far, far scarier. Speaking of scary reveals, what's the Coraline? It's actually a pretty sweet movie. And then found out the other mother killed 3 kids by having them sew buttons into their eyes. And things get dark quick. As I said in my last video, Herb refusing to forgive Bojack means a lot. The first time Bojack was rejected by someone, though the first time it's shown his actions have lost lasting consequences, and the first time effort is used. Done once every season to show Bojack has finally gone too far. As the show starts off, it's pretty cute, but standard. Then you get the scene revealing that there's a curse that turns members of his family into animals. Things get really wacky. The scene of Tom and Jerry sitting on the train tracks is very frequently shared around for being really depressing, and falsely pointed to as the finale. The fight scene with Hickman Toothless in the first film is just a magical experience, and is like the only scene ever made that justifies watching a film in 3D. The fight with All Might and the Nomu is very frequently used to show how great both the fights and All Might is. It was my introduction, and it's seemingly that for the many people I've talked to. Party World is definitely a Disney old-timer, but specifically, I gotta give it to Ariel on the Rock. It's always shown in trailers. At Last I See the Light definitely serves as the most romantic story in the film, possibly in all of Disney. It's a really nice scene that fully shows one of Disney's best couples as perfect for each other. Val in one scene dives into a lake holding an umbrella to inspire Oscar. This is the only really notable scene where she has an umbrella, but it's inseparable from her. Used most promotional material and her first ever figure. Wally and Eve flying through space is another one that's always used in trailer scenes. Wally is also frequently depicted with a fire extinguisher for this reason. The train chase in Wrong Trousers is a miracle of animation. I'm still amazed by how they managed to animate Ground moving on this train, putting the tracks down rapidly at the same time. Nutty stuff. Yeah, I'm the bad guy. Great song. I would never have to discuss it again. I feel like I do every time I discuss Wander. The tunnel scene could be easily removed. It adds nothing, but it's so unbelievably scary that it's burned into the minds of all who watched it. How could you not talk about it? Bendy's reveal that he's actually evil and framing everyone on the main gang, sadly, is what most people discuss with the show. It's an awful scene. Bendy only appears once in the show, and most discussions of the show are about him. It's easy to forget how genuinely funny the first Toy Story is. Every scene really gets a really big laugh. And the best showcase for that is Buzz's big speech and how he'll save the galaxy, only for Woody to scream that he's a toy. One of the big catchphrases of the film. Woody, I like rap, none of that gangster shit. No amount of bad sequel and flossing can take away how visceral the ending of the original is. Ralph repeating the Bad Adam speech as he plummets to the ground, finally having a true purpose. I'm glad this one scene is so good people genuinely discuss it, instead of leaving Ralph as nothing more than a good film with a bad sequel. The two Xaviers arguing with each other is a perfect encapsulation of everything with the show. Nonsense and awesomeness. Genuinely, is it Anya smirking? It was inescapable for like a year, dog. Yep, still Zim barfing up organs in Dark Harvest. I'm fine with constantly talking about this scene. It's very relatable as a fellow cannibal. The Shut Up and Take My Money scene came out in 2010, and I still see people using it a decade and a half later. I ended with 2 from my old video. What a lame way to end. Happy birthday to me. And that's all of them. On screen for fun, I'm showing off how many of these scenes have had my favorite character anyway, and sadly showing the few series I could not pick a scene from. Not every series can be super iconic. It's sad, but it's true. I started doing a video on this, on my favorite scenes from all these franchises. That is just That is just way too much. I could not do that. I'm probably gonna add even more characters after this anyway, so like, oh my god, that's like, what, 235, I think, at this point. I wouldn't be able to not include series like I did with this one, because they're my favorites, so like, yeah, it's not happening. So thanks for watching, everyone, and just straight, I hope this tournament in your birthday cake.